Hello, Sea Valley. This is Jesse. Today, I have a story of hope that I want to bring to you. With me is Rachel, Ellie, and Bryan, and they're going to tell you a story. So,
Hello.
nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice
This
to
is
meet you.
Ellie, right?
Yes, this is Ellie, and she is 3.5.
Well, hello, Ellie. How's it going?
Say hi.
Are you shy? No, you're not shy? So, we got a call from one of your friends, Haley,
Yes.
and she let us know kind of about what was going on with Ellie here. Would you like to explain a little bit about her medical situation?
Yeah, so Ellie was born a little early, about 37 weeks, just shy of 37 weeks. She was born really small and fairly healthy. We noticed early on that her heart felt really intense when it beat. Like when you were holding her, you could just feel it like thump in your. And so around 1, the doctor, our pediatrician, she agreed that her heart sounded a little weird. She described it as a gallop, but it got kind of misconstrued, and so when they went in to do the echo, they were looking for a murmur and not anything else. And so at the very bottom of the report, there is just one note that says slight enlargement of the left ventricle, and it was just kind of at the very bottom of the report. They were all focused on the murmur, and so the report came back fine. And she was getting close to about 1.5 years, and she wasn't growing very well. Her appetite's just very tiny, and so the doctor's like, I feel like we need a second opinion. Let's get a second opinion. And so she referred us to Spokane, and we went in just before her 2nd birthday, and they did an EKG on her, and the doctor came in, and he's like, we had you scheduled to come back for an echo. We don't usually do same day echo unless you're established with us. Usually we do the echo, and then then we bring you back in to talk about everything. And he's like, but we're gonna do the echo now. And so they had us stick around, and they did her echo, and he came back in pretty immediately, and he said, she has restrictive cardiomyopathy. And I didn't know what that meant, and I'm a very happy person, so I just kind of smiled through it, and I was like, okay. And he was, telling me, so at some point she's going to need a heart transplant. And I didn't really know what that meant, I had no idea. And it was myself and my little sister with Ellie that day. We really didn't think we were going to find anything, so Bryan wasn't with us. And I called him, and when I had called him, it was when it finally dawned on me that she's terminal. She's considered terminally ill right now. And from there everything happened really fast. By the end of April, and her birthday's in April, so she was diagnosed March 3rd. By April 27th, they had her in surgery to do what's called a heart cath, and that's where they go in through a main artery and explore your heart, take measurements and pressures, and look at everything. And they used the words severe, critical, very scary words. You're in the recovery room, and the doctor comes in, they pull you into a private room. That's never a good thing. And of course, we're in Spokane, where they don't do big surgeries or complicated things necessarily in this regard. And so we're sitting in recovery, and parents are coming in and hugging their babies, and their babies are leaving. And one of the things with a heart cath is that you have to lay flat for 4 hours after, and at 2 you can't do that. So they had to sedate her, and because she has just a touch of red hair, she fought sedation. And so we're sitting there for 4 hours watching all these families come in and out, and it's all happy news, and here we are devastated. And of course, the doctor was amazing. We had a great experience, but he looked at us and said, we can't help you. We are not capable of helping you. We have to send you to Seattle now. And so we went to Seattle in August, and they looked everything over, and of course they agreed. There was never a doubt. The minute he saw her EKG, there was never a doubt what was wrong. And so we went to Seattle, and we met with Dr. Law, he's amazing. He's the head of the pediatric cardiology transplant team in Seattle, and he wanted to see her. He wanted to see her, and they did some blood work, and they did their own echo and EKG on her, and they looked at her cath, and he said, she's going to need a transplant. It's the only thing we can do to fix her. We can give her meds to sustain, but the only thing we have for you is a transplant. And so they said, you really need to think about this, because a transplant is an elective surgery. We can choose to not do anything. Of course, we're not going to choose to do nothing. We're going to fight for her. But we had to sit down. They wouldn't let us make a decision that day. We had to sit down and weigh everything, pros and cons. There will be a hospital stay. Bryan won't be able to go with me for all of it. I will have to separate from my son and be in the hospital with Ellie, and carrying 2 different households, because we'll have to live in Seattle. And again, Idaho FMLA, they don't pay, so Bryan, he can't really be with us unless he uses PTO up until her
For those that
surgery.
don't know, what is the FMLA?
So in Idaho, FMLA just means that he can take time off of work in an emergent situation or in a non-emergent situation for her medical needs, without losing his job or his position, but it doesn't mean he's getting paid. And so he has to use PTO to get paid for any trip we take to Seattle. And currently they're asking us to come every 2 months. And we decided we wanted to move forward. We want to fight for our baby. So we went back in November, and we spent 4 days in the hospital, in and out of the hospital. We met with 16 specialists over 4 days with the 2.5-year-old at the time, and they did all sorts of tests on her, and asked all the ugly questions, because they can also deny you if we're not a strong enough support system, or we don't have a stable home
Strong
life.
enough family environment.
Yeah, I mean, they can just say no, so like psychological evaluations, and then of course, like I said earlier, we all also had to be tested for several different ways: genetic testing, EKGs and echoes for all 3 of us, me, Bryan, and Tucker, our son. And so we had to do all of that stuff, and we're in there, and they had to do vein and vessel mapping on her, and she couldn't eat, and that was a really rough day, because we're talking like 11 in the morning, and now she can't eat, and we're on day like 3 or 4 that time. And so anyways, at the end of that appointment, they ended up having to take blood 2 days, because they needed so much sample that they couldn't take it in one day. And this happened the week before Thanksgiving, so they told us, we usually present on Wednesdays. It might not be until after Thanksgiving that we present. And what that means is that all 16 of these people, they write up their report. They say if it's medically necessary, if they agree with it, and if they think we should move forward. And then they decide as a team if they're going to list Ellie within this hospital. And so we didn't hear anything before Thanksgiving, which we were kind of not expecting. So we had to come home. And
Happy Thanksgiving.
It was tough. So we came home, and then we got the call in early December. It was like the week after Thanksgiving. They were pretty quick about it, that they do want to list her. It's a good thing, but that just means she really is that sick.
Right.
And so in order to move forward with listing, we had to meet some certain requirements involving her shots. And so they had to fast track all of her vaccinations. So like within a couple of days of a phone call, we had to go and have 3 or 4 more shots done, and then a follow-up round, and she's not eligible for the list for 30 days with any live vaccines, so we had to wait from the day of her vaccine 30 days before they would list her. So on December 28th, they listed her for a heart transplant. And so now we just kind of wait. They expect a long wait because we need a heart that's the same size or very close to the same size as her, and that's just not fair because,
That's another
child. That's another child. And on top of it, she got my blood type, so she's just extra special and needs an O negative heart on top of it. We have to be ready to go at a moment's notice, but for now we're allowed to wait at home, even though it's about a 7-hour journey to the hospital. But as we get higher up on the list and she gets sicker, her and I will have to go to Seattle and wait. But for now, it's just a lot of medications. And of course, she's 3, so she fights us. And some of them aren't covered by insurance and Medicaid because they're considered like supplements, because she's anemic. And it would be fine if she was like borderline anemic for an everyday person, but because she needs a heart, even borderline anemic, we have to treat. And it's just ironic that they don't, take care of supplements. And then because her body works really slow because her heart is working so hard, she has a lot of GI issues. And so we're on a couple of different medications to try to help with that, and none of those are covered. And then, of course, she's on all of this slew of medications to keep her heart going. And it's not only her heart, but she has pulmonary hypertension as well. And so, and that's like the vessel between the heart and the lungs is affected. And right now that's stable on medication is what they're telling us. So that's going to be like one of the more bigger worries when we're moving forward and she's getting sicker. So she's on a couple medications for that. And then she's on warfarin, which is Coumadin. And so she has to be blood tested every 2 weeks usually, and that's just a finger poke. We call it a ladybug because they take like a ladybug amount. And we were really fortunate that we found a pharmacist locally that could do it, because with her age, it was really hard. They thought we were going to have to go to Spokane for everyone, but we did finally find a pharmacist that's willing to work with us. So and then just the fight, because yes, we're on Medicaid, yes, it's a huge blessing, but her condition, she's at a very high risk of stroke all the time, even with medications. And then
there's so much pressure.
And sudden death. They've warned, they've told us she's at risk for sudden death. So we don't sleep anymore.
No excitement in the house.
Yeah, we can't. We everyone we talk to, you can play with her, but please don't scare her. If you scare her, like she could have a heart attack. Please don't scare her.
Yeah.
All the fun things
Play nice.
Yeah. And then with her warfarin, if she gets hit or hits her head, it would, normal kid it might be fine, but she's at risk of bleeding. And so every head hit we have to go to the ER.
Check.
And if she gets a bloody nose, it's
it just keeps bleeding.
Really hard to contain. Even a skiff on your knee, we're really fighting it. So it's just weird things that you wouldn't think about. And it's exhausting, but it's worth it because she's amazing, and we want to keep her forever.
How do you, when you're stuck at work and you can't go to these things and the appointments, how does that make you feel?
So far, I've been able to go to every appointment, and in emergency situations, they're pretty good with working with me. So I haven't had too many issues, and I just don't get to use my PTO for.
And you only get so much.
Yeah. I just haven't got to we don't get to do vacations or anything because I don't have the time for that. It's all been for appointments, but
it's that sacrifice. You want to use PTO.
Yeah.
You can't.
Use it wisely and try to figure out what the best way to.
And then I have intermediate FMLA, so I can take unpaid time off. And
in the future when she's.
I can do that right now.
So if we have an ER visit, I can be hey, we're gonna need help, because if they do a CT, they need both of us to keep her restrained. If they don't decide to do a CT scan, I can usually do the hospital visits without him. But again, it gets to be pretty overwhelming when.
So your GoFundMe has been active for about over a year since you guys have found out and kind of preparing for this, and it's just been stagnant.
Yeah.
Basically. I
try to update it as much as I can and share it as much as I can. The hard thing with sharing on Facebook is that anytime you share a GoFundMe, you get so many scammers that you have to fish through and delete the comments, because it's like, how can I support your campaign? You can donate.
Yeah. That's how you can do it.
Or just share it.
Just
Yeah,
share
or
it.
share.
Yeah, a share is amazing, you know. So, again, I just get tired because every time I share it, it's kind of a battle with scammers.
It's disheartening.
It's very disheartening, you know, and we've had help since she got sick with, you know, in a couple of various ways, but it only goes so far anymore. And again, traveling every 2 months.
Right.
But when she gets sicker and we're having to be closer to the hospital, our lodging is too far away. And then post transplant, when she gets released, that we have a window where our lodging will be too far away from the hospital.
So you need to be there.
Yeah.
And then cost of being there 2 or 3 weeks is going to be a lot.
I mean, a cost to be there for 2 to 3 days, you know, gets expensive. Gas over there is way more expensive, you know, food.
Yeah, Seattle does have, I think they have a different minimum wage than we do too.
Yeah.
If we have to get a apartment, then it's like $2,300 a month.
And that's for like transplant lodging.
That's the discounted rate.
Yeah.
This is where I'm going to, I would like to ask the community to help, you know, so I'm going to, is there anything else you guys want to say, or do you want to ask, or do you want?
We just want to say thank you so much. You know, the group that we do have supporting us, they're amazing. We have like an Amazon wish list for the kids with like needs and wants, and we've had a few people donate from that to keep get them excited about life. Yeah. So that's been amazing. So you know, anybody and everybody that's supported us, we're so appreciative. And if that's a prayer, a positive thought, a happy vibe, we don't care. It all, you know, is so amazing to us.
Keeps your spirits
Yeah.
uplifted.
So we're just, you know, we're grateful that we have what we have.
Well, let's see if we can
Get the LC Valley. You hear that, LC Valley? Let's see if we can't give some hope. Let's see if we can't give some help. There's a GoFundMe, which is it's already established, it's already going, but we also have other ways if you want to donate, to give directly to the family. We have our Walk This Way media page, and it has a bunch of different ways you can donate that way as well. Earmark it, let us know what you want to do with it, and we will hand it right over to them. And if you want to go on the GoFundMe, you can do that as well. So we'll have everything down at the bottom, a list in the description, and let's see if we can't help them out. This is something that takes a community to help. Like they say, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, right now they need some help. So let's do this. LC Valley, I know you guys rock.